Welcome to this video exploring Genesis chapter 1 in the translation of L.L. Zamenhof. We will trace the journey of this text from the Hebrew original through the 1911 publication to the 1926 London Bible, examining how Zamenhof translated not just words, but the relationships between them. A key question arises: what role does the original Hebrew text play, and what does Esperanto do in response? Translation is far more than a mechanical substitution of words. It involves translating properties of the source language into effective solutions within the target language structure. We must distinguish between two different paths. First, the translation process from Hebrew to the 1911 text, which highlights transformative linguistic choices. Second, the transmission history from 1911 to the 1926 edition, which shows how the text evolved over time. How did Zamenhof's translation reach its audience? Historical records point to his work on the journal La Revue and the publishing environment of Hachette in Paris. These contexts provide the publisher's landscape rather than a direct textual genealogy. The years between 1911 and 1926 are divided by the year 1917, the death of Zamenhof. This chronological boundary clearly separates his personal work from the later editorial history managed by the British Bible Society leading up to the 1926 London edition. When translating, properties of the source language can be preserved, interpreted, lost, or acquired as new structures in Esperanto. These categories help us map the translation process without assigning value judgments of good or bad. To analyze this, we use two classification systems. One tracks our level of evidentiary support, while the other identifies the type of translation transformation occurring at any given point. Consider the Hebrew verb bara, translated as krais. While the fundamental verbal relationship is preserved and observable, the original lexical distribution and specific verbal morphology are lost. This shows that lexical equivalence does not guarantee structural identity. Similarly, the term ruah, covering wind, breath, and spirit, is interpreted into spirito. This semantic choice is a necessary reduction, demonstrating how translation requires selecting specific meanings from a broader semantic field. For the Hebrew plural form in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, Zamenhof uses the Esperanto nikriu. Here, the morphological plural is preserved. However, the interpretation of who the referents are remains a hermeneutical question beyond grammar. Esperanto acts as a lexical bridge. By translating distinct Hebrew terms into a unified system like viro and virino, Zamenhof creates intertextual connections, linking different creation accounts through a shared Esperanto structure. Ultimately, Zamenhof translates relationships. The art of translation lies in reconstructing these textual connections using a new linguistic system, where Esperanto's structure itself becomes a powerful instrument for translation. Comparing the 1911 and 1926 texts reveals remarkable stability. Out of 31 verses in the first chapter of Genesis, 29 remain lexically unchanged, demonstrating that the London text is a consistent evolution of the original work. The intermediate 1915 manuscript, M1915, remains a subject of inquiry. Whether specific changes occurred before or after this date helps us distinguish between Zamenhof's authorial phase and the later editorial interventions. In conclusion, we see a deep structural transformation between the Hebrew and Esperanto systems, yet the textual tradition remains stable. Both results coexist: profound change in structure alongside preservation of content. Our research is supported by a robust bibliography. From Gesenius's Lexicon for Hebrew Grounding to Turi's Translation Studies, every source plays a critical role in framing our analysis of how the text moved from the Hebrew original to the final Esperanto editions. This project is part of a larger multilingual series spanning 15 language versions. We maintain a common scientific core: the same Hebrew source, the same methodology, and the same analytic conclusions, while adapting the delivery for each specific linguistic audience. The foundation of this video lies in an extensive written study titled Genesis Chapter 1 by Zamenhof. This document provides the full, detailed technical report that informs our visual summary, covering the transition from the 1911 Hachette text to the 1926 London edition. For those interested in the complete technical details, the full academic article is available on academia.edu. You can access it by scanning the QR code on the screen or visiting the provided URL for an in-depth look at our methodology and data. Thank you for joining us in exploring the translation of Genesis chapter 1. By following the path from Zamenhof's original vision to the finalized London text, We have seen how his work transcends mere word-for-word translation, creating a legacy of interconnected linguistic relationships.